We're on the arbor press, and we're pressing our crankshaft into the crank wheel there. Then we'll take it over and we'll stick it in the upright and we'll put the flywheel on. Doesn't really take any 6 tons of pressure to put that in, but anyway, better overkill than underkill. There's a press fit on the crank wheel. There's a set screw in there besides, so that wheel isn't going anywhere. Okay, we're close to being able to put this thing together after we get the cylinder fitted into the piston fitted into the cylinder. We'll be ready to roll and try it out. So we went to the lathe and we fitted the piston to the cylinder bore. We're going to give it the pop test. If we did it right, should be able to hear a pop when we close that air hole. Pull it out. Yep, there she is. It's a nice tight fit. That's what we want. Alright. Let's put that little mama together and see what we've got. Okay, sports fans. It's time for the acid test. I had to go over to Lowe's and get some parts and build an adapter here to plug this thing into my air compressor. Tommy and I did that yesterday. We went down to Lowe's, so now I've got the engine ready to test run, and it's mounted up. Stuck a little oil in her. It's mounted up with a clamp, so I don't blow the whole thing halfway across the room. And we're about to plug her in, and we'll see what happens. See whether or not all of our energy, all of our work here is for naught, or whether we got something that really works that we can use to generate electricity for the house. That's a joke, kind of. So we got some extra. Hey! Oh, we're done. Now that's a nice ball for That's all right, by golly. Clean her up, make her look a little bit better, and we have a winner here. Yes, we do. Have to get her to the top of the stroke and hit the air to her, then get that flywheel going a little bit, and then she takes right off. There we got her to the top. Got a little air coming out around those edges. You know, that's not the best. This engine design isn't the best. As far as the torque goes, fantastic. I guess we can mark that project down as a success. Kind of. Even though we had to redo everything 10, 12 times, or 3 or 4 times, a couple times. Part of it. The real challenge was that cylinder that doesn't look that way, but we learned a lot about boring cylinder holes for cylinder walls and that kind of thing. So it wasn't a wasted time. On to the next project, whatever that'll be. I've got a more complicated steam engine on order. That should be showing up here pretty soon. Okay, that's that. I've turned the engine around to get a little bit better view of the cylinder side. I'm going to clamp down again. And we'll fire it up. gives you a pretty good look at this side. And you can see that the cylinder goes back and forth. Remember, there are holes in the top of that. A hole in the top of the cylinder, right here. And there are two holes in the stand. Let me disconnect the clamp so I can turn it. There are the input port and the output port. And as this cylinder goes back and forth, here's the pivot point, which this screw and spring hold it tight against the base upright. So it goes back and forth. One of these ports is shooting right in that hole. As it goes the other way around, then the exhaust is coming out the exhaust hole. So this is actually your valve, which is an integral part of the cylinder design. Now as it does its motion, you'll see that the cylinder block is up against the upright and it's going back and forth, so there's friction there. You want to get those two sides as smooth as you can, and I put a little oil in there too to help it along. And, that's how it operates. And the piston, which is going up and down in there, is hooked to the crank wheel, and as that goes around and around like the wheels of the proverbial bus, turns the flywheel. Now if this were, we were going to try to run something with this, and I'm thinking of that, we may remake that crank and run a pulley off for a rubber band or a piece of string or something, probably a rubber band, so that it can drive a small DC motor. If you drive a motor, it'll generate electricity, and we could use it as a mini generator and run an LED or something off it. So that's what I'm thinking of trying. The other thing I want to do is I'm going to do some work on this cylinder block, lighten it up a little bit, shave some of the excess material off, probably do the same thing on the base, round it a bit, make it look better, of course polish up that base. I've got oil on her now. I haven't done that yet. I need to polish up all the parts there if I want to use it for a demo machine. And, that should about do it, I guess. I want to put holes in the wheels. I'm going to experiment with a rotary table to do that. And that's on order. It'll be here probably a few days from littlemachineshop.com. I may do a little video on using that. And I could still, this is a good cylinder block. It's just reamed a little bit, egg-shaped. I think we talked about that before. What I want to do is maybe use a router or use a boring bit, expand that, make it a little bit larger bore, which means more horsepower, and then I can salvage this piston. I measured it, and I can cut that rod off right there. Instead of bringing the piston down from the top, like I did the other one, I'll take it from the bottom up, and I'll have just enough clearance. If I move that hole down just a hair, that I can still use my screwed up piston. Stick that in there, I'll fit it. Have to fit it, you know. And that should take care of us for another little test, a little experiment, whatever you want to call it. Then I've got my piston that I started, my cylinder block that I started, but I haven't finished because I got the JB Weld idea on this one, the original one. But I plan to finish that and really work on that bore. So I want to try a few things with the bore to get it shinier and straighter and smoother. We use this stuff called semichrome. This is some darn good polish. I used to use it on my cars and motorcycles, well I still do. And it just polishes anything, aluminum, chrome, and it doesn't scratch it, which is what I like. This is some good stuff. All right, I think that's it for now. We're ready to put our movie together, the final one of this series. Oh, the plug that I had to make here is, this is just a standard fitting for the air hose. I went down, I got a cap there in the plumbing department at Lowe's. Then I drilled and tapped the end of the tap, 1032, for this air hose fitting that came with the kit. And I use this 1/8 inch air hose. I already had, as you saw, we put the one in the upright earlier. So I was able to put this all together and then use my air hose to put the air hose on there and run it. Don't want to do it if it's not clamped down. It might take off on me. Then I'd be SOL. I won't tell you what that stands for. You kids will have to ask your folks out there. Okay. I believe that's it. On to the next project. Thanks for going along on this adventure with me. Appreciated the company. Yes, sir.